it's Caroline here with Humble Warrior Yoga, and today I'm bringing you an intro to Vinyasa breakdown, really. So this is going to be a brief tutorial about those three primary poses that make up a Vinyasa flow. So come on to the top of your mat, and we'll just run through a few sun salutations to kind of get grounded for our mini instructional flow. Make your way there. And just settle in. So root through your feet, take a soft bend through your knees. And with your inhale, let's reach high for the sky. Big breath in. Exhale, go ahead, dive forward. And meet me in a forward fold. So here, you can take as much bend through your knees as you need to accommodate any tightness through your hamstrings. A lot of people mention to me, how can I do yoga if I can't touch my toes? And so the thing that I ask you is, well, how do you put your shoes on, right? If you don't have a chair, how do you put your shoes on? Just take a deeper bend through your knees if you're having any trouble here in this forward fold. So really as much bend through your knees as you need till your heart meets your thighs, or your belly meets your thighs. And then from that point, let the crown of your head drape towards the earth. Just take a few breaths here. Start to open up through the back of your body, through the back of your legs. And maybe you start to extend a little more through your legs if that feels authentic for you in your practice today. Being sure not to force any stretch, but just start to facilitate some openness, some space. And then with your next inhale, we'll just find a halfway lift. So bringing your palms either to your shins, or you can keep your fingertips on the ground, it doesn't matter. But reach the crown of your head forward, keep your spine nice and neutral, your belly draws in towards your spine. Nice support through your abdominals. Reach your sit bones back behind you. Feel that length through your crown of your head all the way out through your tailbone. So here's your halfway lift, even with the fingertips down to the earth. Your back might not come parallel to the earth, and that's okay. Just finding that point where you find some openness through the crown, all the way through your spine. With your next exhale, let's forward fold again. This time, big root to rise, we're going to reach for the sky again. Urdhva Hastasana, the upward reach. Exhale, let's just forward fold again. Dive on forward, palms can come either through your heart center or reach out towards your sides, it's up to you. And we'll halfway lift, just the same way we did, either palms to the shins for a little more support, or keeping them down on the earth. Exhale, forward fold. Keep as much bend through your knees as you need. And we will rise again one more time, all the way through. Inhale, big reach. Exhale, palms to heart center. Let's just pause here. Take a moment to draw your thumbs towards your sternum, the front of your chest. Moment to notice your heart, to notice your mind, anything that might be coming up for you in your physical body within these first few movements. Maybe an opportunity to soften your gaze or close your eyes and set your intention for your mini flow, your mini instructional flow today. One breath in to breathe in a little more strength, a little more peace, whatever it is that you need. And exhale, release your palms. This time we'll take a big deep breath overhead, big reach, and then leave with your heart, dive on down. We'll find a halfway lift. And now step it back into a downward facing dog. So this is really a foundational yoga pose. So if you've ever taken a yoga class, or even if you're new to yoga, we see down dog in a lot of photos, and a lot of videos, and a lot of yoga classes. And so let's really set this up. So if you're new here, I want you to really check in with your palms. They're gonna come about shoulder width distance. Your ears will come right between your biceps. So rather than looking forward or tucking your chin to your chest, you're staying nice and neutral through that neck space. And same thing here as with your forward fold. A lot of people tell me they're not flexible, so they can't practice yoga. And I just remind you, once again, take a deeper bend through your knees. So even if you're a little more restricted in terms of flexibility, taking a deeper bend through those knees is going to be super, super helpful all through your yoga practice. So whether that's forward fold, or even here in that down dog shape. So that intention of still drawing your heart towards your thighs. And then as you start to spend some more time here, maybe start to lengthen through your knees and find more openness to the back of your body. Let's take a few more breaths here. One more breath here, in through the nose. Maybe this time you sigh out through the mouth. Let some stuff go. With your next inhale, lift high onto all 10 toes. Lift your heels really high off the ground. Now with your exhale, guide your heart back towards your thighs again. Once again, as much bend through your knees as you need. And start to send your heels down towards the earth. So this can be a nice movement to find to settle you deeper into your down dog. Let's do it again. Inhale, lift high onto your toes. Exhale, guide your heart back towards your thighs. And soften those heels back down to the earth. So extra stretch through your calves there, through your hamstrings. And that really is our breakdown of down dog. So let's shift forward into a plank, another piece of our vinyasa. Inhale, shift forward. So your shoulders come over your wrists. You might have to adjust your toes. I like to keep my heels over my toes. Abdominals still draw back towards your spine, really nice and supported there. And let's start to move through a baby cobra flow. So there's a couple of variations of vinyasas that you'll see in a yoga class. One of them being the variation I'm about to show you. So you can feel free to watch me first, or I'll cue you through it. So with your inhale, shift forward. You're gonna feel those shoulders maybe come over your wrists, your heels shift further over your toes. And now bend through your arms. If you want more support, bring your knees down to the earth, but just take everything down to your belly. When you arrive, untuck your toes, palms stay at the sides of your chest, and we'll pause here. So that slow lower all the way down to the earth is usually the first variation that's offered up in a typical vinyasa class. And now we'll find a baby cobra. So you'll keep the palms to the sides of your chest. You're just gonna start to shine your heart forward. So with your inhale, you'll actually bring your shoulder blades down your back, and then inhale to lift your heart forward. Exhale, let it go. Let's do that again. I'll break that down for you again. So press through the tops of your feet, even through the tops of your thighs. Start to get really active there as well. And that focus comes to the upper body, drawing those shoulder blades down your back. Inhale to lift your heart up. Maybe a little support of those palms pressing into the earth to help open through the collarbones. Exhale, let it go. One last time, just like that. Press through the tops of your feet, press through the tops of your quads. A gentle support of the palms. Inhale. Heart draws forward, shoulder blades down your back. Maybe a little more lift through that heart, a little more lift through the upper body, and exhale. Everything touches back down. Shift back to child's pose here. So bend through your knees, let your hips come to your heels, forehead roots into your mat, really heavy through that forehead space, even through your palms to get that good stretch under your arms. So that's really the first breakdown of a vinyasa, is flowing from that down dog space, lowering, or coming into your plank, lowering down all the way to the earth, finding baby cobra, and then shifting back to this child's pose where we are now. So we'll do that one more time a little bit faster, and then we'll level up and we'll give a little more active variation of a vinyasa flow. So within your next few breaths, you'll shift forward into tabletop with the palms under shoulders, knees under hips. Tuck your toes. Let's find down dog again. Shift your hips for the sky. You're in an upside down V shape. That's the goal here. Ears between the biceps. Stay pressing firmly into your mat. Heart guides back towards your thighs. Booty stays high for the sky. As much bend through your knees as you need. And those heels drop towards the earth. With your inhale, let's shift forward, high plank. So stack the shoulders over the wrists. Maybe adjust if you need. I like to keep my heels over my toes. Inhale, we'll shift forward and prepare to lower all the way down to the earth, either keeping your knees lifted or with a little more support with your knees on the earth, on the ground. Exhale, lower all the way down. Keep the elbows tucked in towards your sides. Really active through your triceps here. And when you arrive with your belly on the ground, untuck your toes. Palms stay to the sides of your chest. Inhale, baby cobra. Shoulder blades draw down your back. Heart opens up. Exhale, let it go. 2 more times. Inhale, just for fun, just for more openness in the heart space. Exhale. 1 more time. Inhale, big breath in. And exhale. Let everything touch back down to the ground and shift back to child's pose. A little reset there. So now, as promised, we'll start to level up. So in your next few moments, in your next few breaths, let's make our way back into a downward facing dog. Tuck your toes. Maybe you come through that tabletop shape first. And when you arrive in this down dog, start to bring some movement here. So maybe bend through one knee, lengthen through the opposite leg. Start to get a little more familiar with this space, a little more curious with this space. So you don't always just have to stay still. In a lot of yoga classes, we will layer on leg lifts from down dog, maybe even some more core focused postures, shifting forward into a plank from that space, those types of things. So start to get curious here, pedaling through your knees. And then within your next few breaths, settle into stillness once more. Heels draw towards the earth. All the same good foundational stuff we've talked about. So neutral with your head, neutral with your spine. You're not arched here, you're not scooped here. Nice and neutral. Inhale, let's shift forward back into that plank space. So as I mentioned, this is going to be a little more active variation of a Vinyasa flow that you'll find in a lot of Vinyasa classes. So you'll hear chaturanga, or chaturanga dandasana, which is Sanskrit for the pose I'm going to show you now. So we'll inhale, shift forward, and instead of lowering all the way down to the mat this time, you're just going to stay really active through your arms and lower about halfway, maybe a little bit higher. That's your chaturanga dandasana. Now with your inhale, you'll flip onto the tops of your toes, stay really engaged through your quads. You can watch me first if you'd like, and shift to upward facing dog. Extend through your arms, quads stay lifted off of the mat. It's a really active posture. A lot of times I'll see more passive variations that are taken in yoga classes by keeping the knees down to the earth. But in a traditional Vinyasa flow, we're going to want to keep those quads really engaged. A lot of times it takes some strain out of the back as well. So if you're wondering why upward facing dog might not feel good for you, if you're not engaging the quads, this might really help. So quads stay engaged, your core is still going to stay engaged through this, and especially with this next portion of it. So we'll shift back to down dog next. Engage your core and use that engagement in your abdominals to shift your hips back. And notice here, I'm rolling over my toes. So this might feel like a lot of stretch through the top of your foot. And if that's the case, I'm going to show you a few ways to get from this upward facing dog to downward facing dog. Now I like to flip to tuck one of my toes one at a time to get me to down dog. That's not for everyone. So it might not feel good in your body, and that's perfectly okay. We have tons of variation. So inhale, you might shift forward. I'm going to show you the whole thing one more time real quick. So inhale to that plank from down dog, that chaturanga dandasana about halfway lower, maybe a little bit higher. Flipping onto the tops of the toes, quads stay engaged, lengthen through your arms, upward facing dog, openness through your heart. And now from here, a few options with those toes. You can set the knees down at this point, tuck your toes, and shift back to downward facing dog. You can really play with that stretch through the tops of your feet and rolling over both toes to downward facing dog. I usually have to adjust my feet after that. I'm not very good at that variation, so maybe that's something that you play with. And really, I just encourage you, yoga is not so much about the physical postures, it is about the physical poses and ensuring we're moving in a way that's supportive for our bodies. But it's also about really tapping into your intention for your practice, in caring for yourself in that mental and emotional ways as well. So don't get too hung up on the physical practice of it. Of course, that is a portion of yoga. It can be, especially in some more Vinyasa power flow type styles of yoga, a lot more emphasis is placed on those physical poses, but just know your practice is going to look different. It's going to look different every day, and that's perfectly fine. So for your purposes and your practice, just know it's always going to be shifting. You can always make adjustments. So I'll walk you through those two variations one more time of a Vinyasa flow, and knowing that Vinyasa is such a really big term, and there's a lot of different ways that people teach yoga. There's a lot of different ways that a Vinyasa style class can look. So this is just your introduction to it. So you may, you will most definitely see some variation of this in a yoga class, in a Vinyasa style class. So, but there's a lot more to explore. So let's take you through that modified, adaptive variation of Vinyasa one more time. So let's start in down dog. Heart guides back towards the thighs. Inhale, shift forward into your high plank. Now from here, we'll lower all the way down to the belly. Either take your knees down to the earth or keep your knees lifted. Lower down nice and slow, shift forward. Bring everything to touch the earth, untuck your toes. Baby cobra from here, those palms stay rooted into the earth, shoulder blades draw down. Big inhale. Exhale, let it go. Right away, shift back into child's pose. Hips come over the heels. A breath to settle. And make your way back into down dog. Let's try that a little more active variation from here. Inhale, shift forward into your high plank. Let's find chaturanga dandasana. Lower halfway down or a little bit higher. Shift forward, bend through the elbows. Flip onto the tops of your toes. Upward facing dog. Quads stay engaged, really keep them lifted off the mat. And then take your variation with those toes to shift yourself back into down dog. Use your core to get there. All right, so that is really your breakdown of Vinyasa today. So we'll meet at the top of the mat. Inhale, let's lift high onto the toes, shift your gaze forward, and take steps to get there, as many as you need, back to your forward fold. Crown of your head drapes towards the earth. And we'll finish this practice in the same way we started. So find a halfway lift. Palms can stay rooted onto the earth, or come to your thighs. Inhale, reach the crown of your head forward, tailwind reaches back behind you. Exhale, fold. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, halfway lift. Create some space, reach your tailbone back. Exhale, fold. Big root to rise, and we will stay standing today to finish our practice. Draw your palms to your heart center, drawing in all of this awesome new knowledge and awareness you have cultivated, you built today. And thank you so much for joining me. That's officially your intro to Vinyasa. I'm here if you have questions. If you want to leave them in the chat or in the comments section below, you can always feel free to reach out for me over social media at HW Yoga. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining.